Hey,
Okay.
we're just going to give people a couple of moments. Grandmother Renee just wrapped up her morning session. So if we can let our attendees just jump in for a moment here, then we can get started momentarily. Thank you. I'm going to restart.
All right. Can I kick it off?
Take
Good
it away.
morning. My name's Yoakum. I'm the OYAP coordinator for the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, and I'm kind of the moderator here, the host. I'm going to be asking questions on behalf of you when I see them in the chat or in the Q&A. If I miss one, Sheree is going to prompt us. But I'm not going to do most of the talking, just the firing questions at Dr. John Gallagher. Dr. John Gallagher is wearing the checkered shirt. He texted me this morning and said, "Wear your plaid." But no, we didn't. We just dress alike all the time. But I've known Dr. John for a couple of years. I've seen him speak many times at conferences for educators and community groups. And Dr. John, can you tell us a bit about why you're a doctor, what that means? You're not performing surgery, I don't think, but and what your area of study is.
For sure. Joachim, thank you everyone for being with all of us this morning. I'm really happy to be joining all of you. And yeah, my long name, Dr. Jonathan Daniel Gallagher. Feel free, just call me John, Jon. Any questions in the chat, go ahead and address them to Jon, John. Yeah, I am one of those people, everybody, who after graduating high school, I went to school for another 13 years. And I don't know if you can imagine that. I didn't after graduating high school. I earned what was called a degree at university, in this case in sociology. And a reality hit me, which is a reality that does hit many people with university degrees in a particular area where there isn't necessarily a defined job there. And so after 4 years of university with a degree in sociology, I realized that I was unable to get a job. So I went back for more school and I did what's called a master's degree. That took another 2 years. And with that, the job prospects still with a master's degree in sociology weren't exactly what I was expecting. So I ended up going and doing what's called a PhD or a doctorate. And that took 7 years. So 13 more years, but something I started to fall into during that time was studying Canadians in all kinds of jobs. So I started falling into becoming what you could say is an employment researcher. And I did a big study of workers in all kinds of jobs across the country. And I learned some interesting things about how different people are depending on the jobs that they're in and how satisfied they are. And one of the big discoveries, and it's why I've been able to be in your community, Joachim, is what I learned about skilled trades workers in relation to other types of workers across Canada, and how they happen to be more happier. They happen to have more work-life balance. They happen to be enjoying many benefits in their career that, as it turns out, people in other types of jobs are unable to say or wish that they could say.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to dig into some of the things that you just said. There was a few like trigger terms that you used there I want to get into. I didn't introduce Mr. Bumbaco. Leonard Bumbaco is the OYAP coordinator of the Waterloo Catholic District School Board. So he and I have known each other for years as we work together in OYAP. He does the OYAP coordinating for that region at the Catholic Board. And we know that on this, at this conference, at the Fire Within conference, there are students from Waterloo to Niagara and all the school boards in between, Hamilton and everything in between. So thank you. And there's a question in the chat already about what is it you like about your job? So as a sociologist, what is it you like about your job?
Thanks for that question, Connor. The other part of my job is I teach at a college. So while I, here to top it all off, while I have three sociology degrees, I teach marketing research. I teach research. So I, in fact, don't have a direct application of my degree to my job. I found a way to make it work. But what I do love then about you could say my day job as someone who teaches at a college is something that many people I know wish that they had. It's what's called work-life balance and flexibility. I get to do a lot of things outside of traditional work hours that I want to do, and I can control when I do those things. So for me, having control is a really important part of feeling fulfilled. And we also learned, going back to skilled tradespeople, which we'll talk a lot about today, they have a lot of direct control over their work. So it's nice to have that sense of control in common.
Okay, let's keep talking about that. It's very interesting because I know I've seen you speak about how there are lots of different jobs, and you know about a lot of different jobs, of course. And you've researched what happens to young adults as they're getting into 5, 10, 15 years of their career, whatever they chose after high school. So when you say work-life balance, what does that mean? You know, for most of the people on this in this conference, most of the students in this conference, they'll be about 15 to 20 years old. But when they're 20 to 25, in that next step after secondary school, what does that mean, work-life balance?
Work-life balance, to me, very simply, is when you're done work, you leave work at work. And you pick back up where you left off the next day. In other words, or rather in contrast, it's different from finishing work and then sitting down at the dinner table and then logging back into work because someone was calling you from the office, or a boss or a customer or a client or a coworker in the evening, on the weekend, maybe on vacation. And maybe there are people here who have adults in their lives and they've observed that with them. And maybe they've observed the toll it can take on relationships in the household when people are putting their work first before their members of their household or their friends. In a different kind of world, it's you are finished a job, okay, it earns you a living, gives you fulfillment, and then you're done and you have your entertainment, your family, your friends, your personal life, your time for yourself. And then the next day you pick up where you left off. That, I think, for many people is a time that people remember. But today it's something that I consider a luxury.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I know in some presentations you've done and in conversations we've had, John, you've also talked about tradespeople, people who work in construction, fixing vehicles in motive power, people that work in the service industry that have done apprenticeships like hairstylists or chefs, and people that work in manufacturing. The tradespeople in their careers, they feel alive at work. And this, when I've heard you explain it, can you explain what you mean? In your research, you found that tradespeople generally feel alive at work. What does that mean?
Thanks. Great question, Joachim. So think of what it feels like to have a job, or many of you know this who are watching right now. You're sitting at a computer, maybe at the edge of your bed or a coffee table or a kitchen table, and you are sitting and you're staring at a screen. Now imagine you're in your early 20s, imagine your 30s, in other words, the prime of your life, if we're talking about one's working life, and you are spending the majority of that time sitting at a screen, or going to an office and sitting at the same screen and looking at it and interacting with it day after day after day. What this has in terms of an outcome on one's physical and emotional health is the more we sit, as it turns out, we don't feel more rested. We don't feel more charged up. We actually feel more lazy. I'll put it that way. And we feel more tired. And to answer your question, Joachim, the opposite of tired is not just feeling awake. It's not energized. The opposite of feeling tired is feeling alive. And if you really do studies of what people really want to feel at their core, it's not just, I want to be happy. what really makes people feel something is when they feel alive. And when is the opportunity to feel alive? It's not in your 24-hour day. It's not when you're sleeping because you're sleeping. At home, we kind of do it, we relax. The opportunity to really feel alive is at work. And skilled tradespeople, because they use their hands, okay, in their job, and they have a variety, whether it's working on vehicles, as you said, Joachim, or working in a busy sort of restaurant industry, or working in one of those tower cranes, or helping build structures, or helping dig, or helping maintain. There's a lot of variety. And when you're active and you're moving and you're not going to the same place every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it cannot go any other way. You will feel more alive than you would if you were just sitting and staring for the majority of your hours in the prime of your life.
Okay, excellent. So some of the students that are joining us today may have a job already or have had a part-time job through the summer or whatever. Why is it important for young people who, you know, if they've not had a job yet, what are the good and the bad things about the job? Because we're kind of talking about stuff that I understand. I spend too much time on my screen, and I've had moments because I'm a coordinator and I work with students that are getting it transitioning from high school to secondary, from high school to their post-secondary. So they're starting apprenticeships or picking a college, that kind of stuff. And some of them will text me or phone me at 7 o'clock on Christmas morning. Someone texted me and said, I need to know about this automotive apprenticeship. Great timing, right? But, you know, so for a young person who has not had a job yet, what are the kind of things, the good things and the bad things about a job?
So, I mean, just if we're looking at just starting off, as they say, an entry-level worker, you're starting off in your career. One thing that many people outside of, say, skilled trades experience is they realize that a 9-to-5 job is not really 9 to 5. It is it's sometimes 8 to 6. It could be 9 to 7, depending on the type of environment, the size of the company. For me, that was the biggest surprise. I remember thinking, oh, it's up 4:59. I'm going to leave at 5. And no one's left yet. It's 6 o'clock. A few people have left. And that just becomes the part of the working culture. And many of your students and former students might have stories related to, depending on the type of job they're in a skilled trades profession, everyone has a little more of an agreement on when, remember, going back to work-life balance, when the day ends. And there's a commitment to that so that everyone can enjoy the rest of their day, get rested, and then come back. But if they want to work more, they are compensated for it. And these are terms that students here might hear in the future. For example, time and a half, double time, you're paid extra for working more. That is a reality that does not exist in most other careers. This idea of being paid for working beyond what you would, are your set working hours. I think the other thing that young people can experience in, depending on the job that I've seen from my research, is a frustration sometimes for them getting a mentor. I think it's really important that you could say older generations mentor the younger generations. But what we're seeing, especially in what you could call office jobs today, and maybe some people have studied this, you might be familiar if you're just paying attention to what's going on in the world. You have older workers who would be the mentors to the younger generation, but these older workers, Joachim, are losing their jobs, or they're having their jobs be replaced, part of their job, or entirely by someone in another country for less money, or they're having their job replaced in an office by a piece of software. So when you're 20 years of experience, maybe you're worrying about your own job security and not mentoring the younger generation. So we do see many younger workers craving mentorship. And why I'm really been fascinated with the skilled trades is because if anyone here knows a skilled trades person and you ask them, how did you learn? They'll say, I learned from somebody else. I learned from a mentor. I didn't learn just from a book. I learned because someone else taught me. And it's why skilled tradespeople are also like educators, because skilled tradespeople also teach. So anyone who is listening and wants mentorship in their early adulthood, in their early career, know that I can say you are more likely to get it in skilled trades related careers because it's part of the training. That's a great question.
Awesome. Okay, there's a couple of questions in the chat, and I'm going to try and stitch them together because they lead to my next question. What we were kind of, you've opened up some new ideas here. So, talking about being mentored and learning the skills, if you have a skill set that's very useful in the skilled trades, in the apprenticeship trades, what is skills security? I know you've spoken about this in the past, but what is skills security? So if I'm an office worker, actually I have a friend who worked in banking, in insurance and banking, and he is 52 and his position was replaced and he's looking for work in banking, and they are hiring university grads from business schools and paying them $30,000 or $40,000 less than he was making. He lives in Toronto. He can't take that cheaper job, and he's really stuck. He does not have skills security. So in the skilled trades, what we're talking about, the apprenticeships, what does skills security mean? That's
an awesome question and great example of your colleague, your friend there, and that is the conceit of saying I have a lot of degrees and a specialization in a particular area of knowledge, and my job is secure. Well, as it turns out, when the chips are down, when a crisis happens, we really find out which jobs are secure or not. So it's why, and thanks for noting that, Joachim, I don't talk about job security. I talk about skills security. What does it mean? It means water is water. Electricity is electricity. Wood is wood. Ingredients are ingredients. Hair is hair. A ball bearing is a ball bearing. You can work with these materials across different provinces, different countries, among different languages more easily, and be able to adapt more easily than somebody else, as you pointed out, maybe with multiple degrees in a specialization that isn't frankly useful to society. And that's when the reality hits. And many people know or have seen by turning on the TV, when we were in a crisis for 20 months, you saw healthcare workers were considered essential. They were not told, go home, turn on your laptop, we'll let you know when we need you back out in the world. Okay, obviously grocery store retail for sure, but also and various community services for sure. Anyone that's working with people, but also skilled tradespeople. In a crisis, society doesn't just have to be maintained, but we also want to keep growing. And so this is applicable anywhere you go. I'll just give you another quick example. When the chips are down, if anyone paid attention to the news the last 6 weeks or so, maybe a little more, there were some hurricanes that affected the United States in New Jersey, New York. After the first responders were called on, right? And the water settled, everything settled, people's had their homes destroyed. And they were unable to fix their homes themselves. So what were considered essential and are still considered essential 6 weeks later, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, brick and stone masons, people who need their homes that they own and they were able to pay for, but don't know how to fix or repair or maintain. So who do they call? Someone who has a different type of knowledge expertise, someone who decided to pursue excellence in a skilled trade. And that's when the reality really hits a lot of people, your friend included. Yeah, excellent. So Carmen asked a question. It's going to lead to something else that Connor has said. Carmen asked about
what are the job prospects for someone with these skill sets? So you're talking about carpenter, electrician, plumber, roofers, framers who build the structures, iron workers who are building larger infrastructure. As the economy can go up and down, what are the job prospects with these skill sets?
Oh, so what we've learned, a good example as during the crisis, is that even and by the crisis, of course, I mean COVID-19, when everyone kind of everything sort of stopped, is that anything that requires the maintaining of our livelihoods as we experience it, there's always going to be a need for those who can help maintain it, whether it's our electricity, our water, our ability to grow food, but also at the same time, we still saw here and around the world, economies, still needed to try to grow. And that meant building, it meant expanding, it meant retrofitting. So with that comes a need for people whose expertise allow them to help build, help maintain, and help do the things that everybody relies on. So, there's also this idea of, and maybe it'll change, I'm not sure, but you can't hammer a nail over the internet. You can't install tile over the web, right? And for now, many jobs, going back to skills security and still the demand, there's so many opportunities for people who can use their mind and their hands. And when you are able to do that, society rewards you. And I said this the other day, everyone thought it was quite meaningful, but, plainly put, society, if we're talking about earning a living, rewards people who can do things that are useful. That's it. And if you have skills that are useful to other people, as they say, you won't go without work for very long. You will always have a job.
Interesting. So there was a question there too about side hustles. So is there opportunity for people with these skill sets, with skilled trades? So, and just as an observation, I was watching the news last night, and there's this terrible flooding in British Columbia, and they're looking at the massive infrastructure changes that have to be put in place. And I was watching who's busy, and the dump trucks are coming and going, and the heavy equipment operators, the bulldozers and the excavators, and the people with those skill sets, they get paid well. There are dump truck drivers, but who's fixing them, right? The truck and coach technicians and those kind of skill sets. But are there side hustles for people with skilled trades jobs?
Oh, for sure. And just quickly jumping on, even the drivers, the dump truck drivers, if we're thinking, I know in Ontario, they earn more than $80,000 a year, more than that for sure. And of course, those who need to maintain them are very well paid as well. So, and just the question again?
For someone with, as the economy goes up and down, and sometimes there's more work and sometimes there's less work. But if I was working, say, as a carpenter, and I really enjoy that job, or as an iron worker, I enjoy that job, and I do my 40 hours, and now I have my free time.
Yeah.
Is there a side hustle I could get into?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that have been so refreshing and surprising when I interview even younger people in the skilled trades is I wouldn't call it a side hustle. It's businesses. They are young people who, because of the absolute immediate need and shortage for people who have their own skills, they have taken upon themselves to start their own businesses, either on the side, and which transition to their complete own business themselves, and maybe they leave their current place of employment to have their own business, hire other people, and therefore are leaders and mentors themselves. Many, again, as young as in their 20s, right? Being business owners. But of course, if we're just talking about side hustles, there are lots of examples of people in the skilled trades, whether it's in motive power or in the services industry or industrial or construction, that while they have their full-time job, either a side hustle is hiring themselves, their own self, right, for installing a deck or a shed or catering an event, whatever they're doing, and therefore saving the money by being able to do things themselves, not having to pay someone else. But also there are many examples of people who when they do want to interrupt their work-life balance on an evening or a weekend, are certainly called to help fix friends and neighbors or help install or build things for other people. Again, when you have a skill that other people don't have, they are willing to trade their money for your ability. And it has been said that certain skilled tradespeople can get paid more than physicians for house calls. And that happens to be very true.
Wow. So interesting. I know I needed some plumbing done in my house. I'm comfortable with some plumbing, but I needed the main shutoff valve turned on and off. And I've done that in another, like I renovated a bathroom and I did some of the plumbing myself. So to put in a new shutoff valve was not that big a deal for me. I thought the job would take me about an hour, 2 hours. I'm not that quick. But it was the main shutoff valve to the house, and the city had to come and turn off the water at the street. So I thought, if I screw that up, we could be without water for a week before I book it again. Anyway, so I called the plumber, and it's a company owned by a person I know, and they said, "Oh yeah, great, we'll send a truck out. It's a 4-hour minimum, $100 an hour." The guy who showed up, really nice guy, is quite older. And he came and he looked around and he said, "Do you have anything else for me to do while I'm here?" And I said, "Well, why?" He goes, "This is one thing." It was 15 minutes. It took him 15 minutes. And I had to pay $400 plus tax. I made him an espresso, but he literally, and I said to him, how old are you? How old are you? How long have you been here? And he says, "I've tried to retire twice. And each time he tries to retire, his boss offers him more money." He was being paid $60 an hour because the boss didn't want to turn down the jobs.
Yep.
So he was giving him the easy jobs to keep taking those jobs. Anyway.
And you knew the boss, so that was the friend discount.
Yep, that was the friend discount. Otherwise, it would have been about 120. Unbelievable. Anyway, so here's a question out of left field. Why is it important for young people to know that they can make a difference in the world with their career?
What I'll ask young people here to think about that. What brings you meaning? What makes you feel good? Is it passively watching other people live their lives on social media or on television and movies? Or if you think about it, do you really feel good when you know that maybe you've helped someone else, that you were able to solve a problem, to make someone smile, to improve someone's day, to show them that you can do something that maybe some people didn't expect that you could do? I think for many people, actually most people, this feeling of happiness, we tend to, as I said earlier, happiness is kind of a word that needs to be unpacked more. So I said earlier that it's more people on a crave feeling alive, right? That's the sort of feeling of really feeling this sense of excitement and energy and all of that. They're craving that. But sort of on the other side of feeling happy is, am I making a difference? Am I making a contribution? And there are people who in their jobs would have to really confront the reality that maybe they're not making a big difference. Maybe they're, as they say, paying taxes. Some people say that, hey, at least I'm paying taxes, I'm contributing. Okay. But if you're a senior vice president for a fast food company or a company that sells sugar and salt and fat to families, you're sure you're paying taxes, but are you making a difference in people's lives? I have my wife confronts this a lot. She's someone who works in an area that's related to advertising, right? And advertising, one could make the argument, is primarily aimed at getting people in certain cases to buy more stuff that they don't need. Making a difference in the world, it's a reality that needs to be confronted. But one thing that's really important or worth noting when you talk with skilled tradespeople is they absolutely, because they contribute in a way that fulfills people's needs, they can confidently say that they make a difference in the world. And that can't be understated in terms of how that contributes to a feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, and what if I try a career? I do an apprenticeship and I try the career, and after 5 or 10 years, I'm finding this isn't. I'm not happy here anymore. It's not exactly what I want to do. Can I start a new career? What are the options?
That's a great question, and I think that's so that applies not only to starting in the trades, right, but just anywhere. Assuming you're, for most people, we can expect to have, a long life, right? This phrase "life is short" is not true. Actually, life's long, right? And you can make changes. And it's okay if you change your mind in your mid-20s, late 20s, in your 30s. Some people even in their 40s. I'm 40 years old, right? I still have another 25 years of work. I could change my mind too, especially if teaching online is the future. I'm not into this. I don't like sitting and staring at a screen all the time. People can change their minds. One thing worth noting, though, is that people don't get into the skilled trades. You've mentioned as an apprentice, right? Until their late 20s on average, right? 28, 27, 28. There is an opportunity there, or rather that's evidence that people are discovering the trades later. They're getting into a career or maybe an educational pursuit and realizing that maybe that wasn't for them or it didn't lead to a job. And then they try something else. And sometimes it ends up in the skilled trades and they find a productive career there. But there are those who could do that earlier. But the main message is for anyone, whatever career anyone wants to pursue. I would say the world is different now, and most people aren't on that pathway of going right out of high school into post-secondary, into a job. You can do training online now if you wanted to change your career while you're working somewhere. I would say there's nothing on the whole, because I teach in this sector, there isn't much about being an older, you could say, student, being someone who's more mature in a classroom with others who are younger. More and more classes now are comprising people of all ages, much more than they were in the past. So don't be afraid to say, this is I'll just end that by saying, we like to say, follow your passion. We hear that a lot. I've learned that it's better follow your curiosity, try new things out. And it's okay if you tried something and you didn't end up liking it, you didn't feel fulfilled. We have never had more opportunity to try out more things. So be curious.
Excellent. I'm going to bring Len in here. Sir, if you want to join us. Len, there's a question in here about how much it costs to get a skilled trades diploma and how many years does it take. But I love that question, Evan, but I'm going to ask it in a bit of a different way so that Len can explain from high school what you could do. So
love it.
This is sort of an answer to that question in mind. So Len, let's say I've decided that I'm interested in being an iron worker. It sounds like a great job for me, working with steel. There's some welding sometimes working indoors, sometimes outdoors. I'm going to be involved in projects that matter, like building hospitals and libraries and factories that provide jobs for people. So I'm really excited about that. If I'm in high school, how do I get started?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. if you're looking down that avenue of trades and of skill trades, that you need to explore your curiosity. Talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your tech teachers at your school. See what programs are there, and gain those skills in that tech class, and make that connection. I cannot stress enough that networking is a key piece here, Yoakum. And then you're going to explore OYAP. You're going to go into co-op. You're going to try to get that on your schedule, and from there, that co-op teacher, with probably your tech teacher who has some experience in those skilled trade sets, will try to connect you with an employer so you can explore your curiosity. You can try it out, and it doesn't hurt to try. Co-op is that place for you to do it, and you get 2 credits for it. So why not? If I had a permission to ask, I would like to put up a little slide. One slide, is that possible at all? Or do you have
You
anything?
should have the ability to share your screen.
Thank you very much. Host disabled participant share.
Try again.
Okay. Okay, where am I right now? I am right here. Can everyone see that okay?
Not yet, Leonard.
Oh, share. My apologies. There you go.
Great. Yeah, we can
Yep.
see.
There we
So
go. Awesome.
we're down at the bottom here, graduated high school after completing your OYAP. So OYAP is that piece, and OYAP is just a big fancy acronym, 4 big letters. It means co-op in skilled trades. And you're coming out of there. So if you have that experience in high school, you made that wonderful connection with your tech teacher, your guidance teacher, your parents, because you're going to share this experience with them. And obviously your co-op teacher, who's going to make that connection to that employer where you want to explore your curiosity and feel alive and nourished. You just want to go out there. Co-op is there. You graduate in high school and you say, hey, I really love that experience working with that employer. Then the road is here. Now the road isn't straight. It's very, very curvy, but you can actually leave high school. You could be signed on as an apprentice, or you can continue to work at that placement, and you continue on that job training after high school, and you're getting paid now all the way through here. And you could get paid in high school in the skilled trades and OYAP, but let's say you weren't, but that company decided after high school and you graduated, you're going to come back to that company because they loved you so much. You're going to be on a job. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be given a schooling offering once they sign you up as an apprentice. They sign you up as an apprentice, then you're going off for in-school training. And then you're going to go back and you're going to go work for a little bit. And then you're going to go school training again, on a job, a little skill training again, and back to the job again until you write your exams, what we call your certificate of apprenticeship. And then the end result, the goal would be your diploma, for lack of a better word, your certificate of qualification, which is basically equivalent to a college diploma if you went to college route, or a university degree if you went to university route. So this is what we call the apprenticeship pathway. And all along here, you're gaining skills, gaining knowledge, going to school, and being that employee that the employer really, really needs to fill that gap, and getting paid along the way. These schoolings are not that expensive. They're, I'm going to say, for probably $500 plus GST for most of them. And the exam's not too bad either. And then you're not only working and earning, there's lots of incentives out there for you to continue your journey as well for both you and the employer.
Okay, awesome. So basically, I love this drawing because if a person wants to go to university, there's a whole marketing team that will say, yep, here's your classes. It feels a bit like high school. You're going to be sort of sitting and learning from an instructor and doing some paperwork on your own and that kind of stuff. And a college can feel similar, but in the apprenticeship pathway, to understand that it's a little more independent and you and your mentor are working together through that path. Oh, awesome. There are the trades. So let me ask you the next question. In an apprenticeship, if I wanted to be an electrician or a plumber, and I know that Mohawk College in Hamilton offers plumbing, why can't I just go and do the diploma and be a plumber?
Oh, you can. And that's a great opportunity for some. Now, the key with an apprenticeship is you need an employer. So if you're going to go off to college for 2 years or whatever it is, it's expensive. And it fits certain. So if you're later in your career and you've taken all academic courses and you're planning to go to college or university, and in the last minute you can't fit co-op in your schedule, or you went to co-op and you didn't like that trade, but you didn't have time to explore anymore, you can go to, but you really want to go into a trade and explore something, you can go to college. It's a very viable option. But the problem is, at the end of that diploma, you don't have a job. And you must have a job to be an apprentice. You need to be connected to a sponsor. So regardless of what sector, and whether it be motive power, service, construction, or industrial, and there's roughly 144 odd trades here, at the end of the game, for you to finish and to go to the pathway at the top here to get certified, you have to be on the job. And that's the hardest part for youth, for anybody, even if you're 27 years old going into the trade, because you have to pound the pavement, you have to knock on doors, send out your resume, really market yourself. And networking is key here. If you can't do the networking and get yourself a job and show your skills, then no one's going to know about you. You're invisible. And when you leave college with a bill, maybe with some debt, you're back at square one. You're back where this arrow is at the bottom. I need to find a job. Yes, I did the schooling pieces, but I need 4,000 hours or 5,000 hours. I need a certain amount of hours to get to my certificate of qualification with 3 levels of schooling. Your boss has to sign you off to say you're ready to write the certification of qualification. And yes, you've completed all these competencies. So get that job first. It's also the cheapest way to do it. If you can be signed on as an apprentice in high school or right away, schooling is a lot cheaper. You don't have to go to college right away.
Okay. Thanks for that little Prezi journey there for a moment. That
You're
that
welcome.
was a fun transition. But okay, so there's a question there about from Raven asking how long, when you can go back to that road, I know the answer to one. For example, you can see in that image that Len has got up there, there's 3 times where you would do your apprenticeship training in school, and the rest of the journey would be a certificate of qualification. Now, if you were interested in being a hairstylist, there's only 2 in-school training components you need.
Correct.
And if you wanted to do that, Mohawk College does not offer apprenticeship training in hairstylist, but Niagara College does. And they have a program where you can take that in-school component 1 day a week for 2 years while you're working and complete the apprenticeship in 2 years for hairstylist through Niagara College. When you have an employer like Len is talking about, and you're working, getting the hours and all of the skills from your mentor, your apprenticeship sponsor. So in many of the other trades like truck and coach technician or iron worker or welder, how long does that road take from the beginning until the C of Q, certificate of qualification?
I would say it depends on how actively you're working, collecting those hours. I would say between 3 to, and I'm going to throw it out there. It could be as low as 3 years, 5 years, because you are looking at life. Life gets in the way. That's why the road is not straight, right? Life gets in the way. So sometimes the employer may move, or you may not be given a lot of shifts just because of the economics of the day. COVID is a good example coming out of that. So 3 to 5 years, if you're actively employed, it's roughly over 5,000 hours for auto, you will, that's roughly about 3-4 years of working, right? And then you got to fit in the schooling offers in here when you're given those schooling sessions. And each schooling sessions between 7 and 8 weeks. And there is a thing called day release. Some colleges will or some regions will offer day release for 1 day a week for a year. You can do your schooling while you work. So maybe Monday to Thursday you would work, and then your schooling would be every Friday at the college. So there's different options. These will be given to you when you're signed on. Usually that communication from the ministry to your employer is funneled that way, and your employer will talk to you and say, hey, we got an email saying there's a spot open. I think you're ready to go to school. Why don't you go to school? And this is what it looks like for you. When you come back, your job is here, and then we'll get you ready for your second school. What I want everyone to understand is there's a lot of value in working with your sponsor first before you go to school. It makes school a lot easier. It makes it, you're much more ready. Okay, so really listen to your employer. And when we say apprenticeship, you're apprenticing with a journey person. That mentoring is key. That's why it's set up this way. So really listen to your job, listen to your boss. Again, make it really difficult for them to let you go, but life does get in the way. You could move, and you may have to find another sponsor because you have to move to a different region of Ontario, or so on. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Okay, awesome. And Raven here says she's interested in plumbing. That's great. So if Raven is interested in plumbing, I don't know Raven, but I've had students in grade 11 say, I think I'm interested in plumbing. What should they do? How, like specifically, what classes should they take in high school to get on this path?
Excellent. Well, plumbing, math for sure. Okay, any construction, any tech trades, I would definitely take your math, set your world up to take your college math minimum in grade 11, and you want to set get your ducks in a row, get everything set up so you can take in grade 12 MCT math or grade 12 tech math. But more importantly, you want to make sure you sign up for your construction courses. So look and talk to your construction teacher. Plumbing's a little bit different. I kind of group that with electrical. There isn't a very few schools that I know offer a plumbing emphasis course in tech or electrical emphasis course in tech, but some of that's embedded with those current construction courses. So you need to talk to your tech teacher. You need to let them know your construction tech teacher and say, I'm really interested in becoming a plumber. Can you get me ready? What does your course offer for me to do this? And again, networking and talking. Most tech teachers are journey persons, especially construction teachers. They'll probably be a general carpenter in most cases, or at the bare minimum woodworking teacher. But if you're running a grade 11 or 12 senior tech course, that teacher is probably extremely qualified to teach that construction course in terms of being a general carpenter. And they'll embed and they'll infuse some plumbing into the course. So you won't know until you talk to your guidance counselor. You won't know until you read the course descriptions for grade 12, 11 and 12 construction and so on. And look for those little satellite programs. Maybe there's a home build program at in your school board that you can apply to. Maybe there's a dual credit program in grade 12. Dual credit can take its own life of itself. I know we have 8 minutes left here, but maybe there's a dual credit program, a tech dual credit up to college, because a lot of schools don't have the plumbing setup, right? It's very expensive, or the electrical setup. So they've partnered with a college in the form of dual credit. And you can go to college, take maybe a plumbing dual credit course, take a plumbing college course while you're in high school, get your high school credit, and that will prepare you as well for that field. Again, explore your curiosity. There's a lot of different avenues. So talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your tech teacher. And you know what? If you have a little bit of construction experience, a tech course that we can relate it to, there's lots of students. We have lots of students that go off into a plumbing tech co-op placement. And I have had a student recently love plumbing so much that this company did HVAC as well. And the student, one of my students, is now going to pursue an HVAC technician because he knew nothing about it, but the company did both. And he's now not being a plumber anymore. He's working for the same company in the terms of HVAC. That's the HVAC tech.
Yeah, excellent. I know that trade in this entire area, Hamilton, Brantford, Burlington, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. That's what HVAC stands for, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And it is an in-demand trade. And you think, like in Canada, it's hot in the summer. Some people want to have an air conditioner going, and it's cold in the winter. You're not going to survive without heat in your home. Yeah. It's very valuable. And that is making a difference in people's lives if you can fix that. I'm going to bring John back in here. So John, if we've got somebody on this, a young person here watching and listening and thinking, okay, I'm hearing all these jobs. I'm not sure what one's right for me. Iron worker, plumber, cement finisher, carpenter, chef, or hairstylist. Like in your work with people who are in their careers, John, how did people who love their job, skilled tradespeople who love their job, how did they find their job? How, like when they're reflecting back, or when I was in high school, or when I left high school, these are the steps I took. How do you find the right job for you?
Yeah, no, the real answer to that question, Joachim, is the majority of skilled trades people or I should say, they're more likely to have found their job through a family member or friend. That's the reality. If you ask people who are been in their careers for about 10 years or more, I got in because my uncle, my aunt, a parent introduced me to it. It was closer to home. But in recent years, we have, of course, programs like Lenny explained that can now be discovered by young people. And they are getting in through the advice of a guidance counselor, or by hearing a message like many are hearing today and saying to their teacher or guidance counselor, this is what I'm interested in, and then relying on their support to help them, as was mentioned a couple times today, find an employer that will take them on as a student apprentice. And I would say that we're hearing more and more from younger people, if they are in their early 20s, that they decided while they were sitting in a classroom and they said to themselves, I want to be really good at something that other people maybe aren't good at. I want to be able to do something that's useful. I want to pursue excellence in a particular area. And where can I do that? For me, and when I was in high school, no one talked about skilled trades. There was no such thing as the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. And for me and many others, we were unable to discover this massive area. And you know, some people ended up, as I said, just racking up degrees and not necessarily always getting a career in that degree that they earned and paid for. So I just would reiterate or repeat what Lenny said. For anyone who is in a virtual classroom and you're interested, know that you have so much more advantage by starting in high school with help from people who are dedicated to helping you than if you said when you were graduating high school, oh yeah, maybe I remember someone talking about skilled trades a couple of years ago. I wonder if I can get into that. You might kick yourself a bit and go, oh, there was a huge opportunity for me to get started while in high school. So please take advantage for anyone who's interested.
Okay, awesome. Len, I've got another question for you. I love the image of the welder that you've got up there. And if I was in high school and I saw that my high school had a manufacturing SHSM, and I knew, oh, there's an SHSM, but what I want to do is an OYAP welding. I want to start an apprenticeship in welding. Which of those programs should I choose? Because sometimes students don't understand. Is that really the question? I know as a teacher, it's not, that OYAP and SHSM are sort of separate. They are separate funded programs, but how does OYAP and SHSM work together?
Okay, well, if you take a look at the slide, the first bullet is OYAP is a cooperative education experience in a skilled trade. SHSM is a specialist focus for high school student grade 11 and 12. And what the difference is you'll get some certifications for a specific sector at your school. So let's say you want to go into construction and you have a construction SHSM there. So you sign up for SHSM. You will be responsible for taking certain courses to earn that specialist when you graduate. And part of that is certain certifications that are mandatory and elective. And also within those 2 years, grade 11 and 12, you have to take co-op. So if you're going to take co-op and SHSM, because you have to, because it's mandated for you to graduate with your specialist. And what I mean is you'll graduate with a red seal stamp or stickered onto your diploma, and it separates you, who has a red seal on a diploma, someone who doesn't. Okay, it's a nice to have specialist high school major. It's not a must have. Okay, because there are a lot of requirements you got to fulfill, but co-op being one of them. If you're in co-op, okay, if you are in co-op, you are an OYAP student. So if you're in a co-op in a skilled trade, regardless if you're in a specialist high skills major program or not, you are an OYAP student. You're what we call an OYAP participant. You get a registration number. You're just exploring. It could turn into something big right then. We hope that there's a connection with you and an employer. We hope that you will gain your curiosity will be fulfilled. And yes, okay, I want to go into trade or not.
I'm going to have to jump in there. Thank you very much, Len. Thanks, Len, for joining us from Waterloo Catholic. And thank you very much to John Gallagher for sharing all of your information and expertise. And thank you to the people who've joined us in this panel. It looks like there's 51 people here this morning. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Hopefully, if you have more questions, ask the NEPAM reps. They will contact us, and have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all of our presenters this morning. Next up, we've got the construction panel discussion. I'm going to share my screen for a quick moment to make sure that everyone knows exactly how to find it. So we've just wrapped up the Discover OYAP session, and now 9:30 to 10:45, we've got the construction panel discussion. To join, simply click the button, click to join. See you there, and thanks so much again.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.